All right, so what's going on, guys? Welcome to the next video of Matt and Vin here. We have a Premier League predictions video coming at you. Before we get into it, make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe on this video, please, all right? That's really going to help us out, push this video, and, you guys can check out some more videos coming soon. So first, we're going to get into relegation. Vinny, do you want to start with your relegation teams who you think are going down this season?
Yeah, so I actually I had a little more thought put into the relegation than I did like the top four, top six. I don't think it's as cut and dry as last year. I don't think it's 3 up, 3 down, same 3 that went up, same 3 that went down. Starting from 20th at the bottom, Southampton. I figured if there's any team that has to yo-yo, Southampton seems to be the one in my opinion. 19th, Leicester. And 18th, I went Brentford.
Really?
I went Brentford in 18th. Ipswich Town stays. I think I like that coach. I think he's going to be fun. Yeah.
Kieran McKenna.
Yeah, I think that's going to be fun. Brentford, I'm assuming they're going to lose Ivan Toney. And they were a little shaky last year.
That's a spicy take, Vinny.
So I went, Brentford going down. So those were my 3: Brentford, Leicester, and Southampton, and one of the promoted teams staying up.
So you said Southampton last, right?
Yeah.
Leicester in 19th. Why you think Leicester is going to be in 19th? I can kind of assume Southampton, obviously, but why Leicester?
I mean, I could have switched them. It didn't really matter to me. I just don't think that Leicester is going to be a threat. Honestly,
you could have switched them though. You think Leicester might finish even in 20th? You think they're going down for sure, 100%?
Yeah, I'm pretty much convinced that Leicester is going down. Southampton, those two are locks in my opinion. They're 100% going down.
So that's interesting. So as we get into mine, I'm only asking because I have Leicester City at 20th as well. I think Leicester City took a massive hit. Obviously, as we know, I'm a Chelsea fan, and we took their best player and their coach. And when you lose one of those two, usually, you're going to struggle. You got to figure some stuff out. When you lose both, that does not sound good to me. So I don't have much faith in how they're going to do. Apparently, they're also dealing with some possible points deduction. I was looking into that a little bit, and regardless of if that goes through or not, just like the questions to the players and coaches, that hurts that. Like, your mind's not on football. You're thinking about stupid stuff you shouldn't be thinking about, and that just doesn't help. So, and even the fan base, like when your fan base is dealing with that doesn't feel good. So, I think they will be 20th. 19th, I think we have Southampton. You said 20th. I also think they are locked to go down. Southampton, they finished 4th in the EFL last season. They got in by winning in the playoff. And I just don't think their team is Premier League caliber. There's really not too much quality on the team. I looked at their squad, and there's no real names that stand out to me. I really don't think they have too much of a chance getting too many games this season. 18th, I have Nottingham Forest. Brentford to me was wild, Vinny. I'm serious. When you said that blew me away. But some people might say Nottingham Forest is kind of the same thing too. They got Elliot Anderson from you guys. That was a big signing. But
massive signing for them.
I don't think Elliot Anderson's enough. Like, their team is good. They have a couple good players here and there. Gibbs White, that dude's actually, he's pretty good. But I just don't think, like, they have the cohesiveness and, again, like, overall, just, like, the caliber of team to stay in the Premier League. Last season, they didn't look too good, and I really don't think they're going to stay this season. Where did they finish last season? Wasn't it like 17th? Yeah, they finished 17th last season. So they made it in by 6 points. I do not think they're going to be able to make it this season.
So I flirted with that idea. Instead of Brentford, I was thinking Nottingham Forest, but they got a points deduction. and still managed to stay up. So in my mind, they probably wouldn't have been 17th. They might have been a little more comfortable. Maybe they would have been in Brentford's spot. I think that Nottingham Forest was able to make it through that and survive on the last day where they didn't know if they were getting relegated or not. I think to them, that challenge of the relegation battle has already been won once. So it'll be kind of like Everton doing it back-to-back years. That was my taking on it, but I appreciate that you said that, because for a little bit I was like, Nottingham Forest might go down, but I went Brentford, but I appreciate and respect the Nottingham Forest because I was there mentally myself.
Yeah, no, I mean, some honorable mentions here. I mean, even Everton, they have been shaky the last couple seasons. You never know what you're going to see with them. Brentford, they finished 16th last season. Like you said, you think they're going to go down. I honestly think that their coach, Thomas Frank, is just a good coach, and I feel like he's going to be able to figure it out and keep him in the Prem. They haven't lost Tony yet, right? Are they for sure losing him?
Not yet, but I mean, dude, I would assume.
I mean, yeah,
so.
I'm surprised. I would be surprised if he stayed too. But if he does stay, like, dude, there's no way Brentford goes down, in my opinion. I mean, Ivan Toney's a beast, and I mean, I think being cohesive is a big part of being able to play in the Premier League. And I think that team has it with that manager. And again, if Ivan Toney stays, I just can't see it. But it could happen. You never know.
I mean, you brought up Everton. Everton lost Onana, so that's a massive loss for them. But
huge,
they still do have their coach, who has been, unfortunately for him, he's been down this road many a time. So I think my thought process with Everton's the same as Nottingham. Like, we just did that, so we can do it again.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So we normally, you see all these other videos cover the rest of the table, but as we all know, in the Prem, anything could happen, and you see a lot of these mid-table teams hang around there for a while. So, I personally wasn't really looking at West Ham, Crystal Palace, Brighton, Bournemouth, Fulham, or Wolves for, going into the top 6 or getting relegated. So we're not really worrying about those teams. They could finish anywhere between 7th and 15th, realistically. I would assume you would agree, Vinny.
Yeah, I would. I assume it's going to be the same usual suspects. Middle of the pack, you got your Fulhams, your Wolves, Crystal Palace. Maybe they would have been higher on my list if they didn't lose Elise, but everyone knew that was going to happen. So I think,
for sure,
I'm in agreement that for the most part, pretty much 8th through 15th is going to be status quo. You see the same kind of faces there.
But there obviously are a couple teams that may end up in 12th place like Chelsea, or 11th like Chelsea did a couple years ago, or again, it happens, and we'll see what happens this season. But as we get into the top 6, do you want to start with your number 6? And I think we need to go one at a time here. You do your 6, and then I'll do my 6.
Okay. I smiled a little bit when you were talking about middle of the pack, because I feel like you're going to be surprised by this pick. 6th, West Ham.
Really?
I went 6th to West Ham for a couple reasons. They've had a pretty good summer transfer window. They're calling it the best summer transfer window in West Ham history. They got a bunch of huge signings. They're looking good. And for the past 2 seasons, they've been dealing with European competition. They no longer have European competition going on right now. Paqueta's fate is still up in the air. We have no idea, but I'm pretty sure he's going to be starting the season.
That's
because
crazy.
Nothing's gone through yet. I could be wrong. Someone correct me, but
crazy.
I heard he might be. He still might be able to play the first couple games. I just think with no distractions, none of the Moyes getting fired stuff going on. I think with the additions that they've made, they've spent a lot of money in the transfer window. I think that West Ham could be a surprise late season push for top 6, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I have not paid attention too much to West Ham, so I had to look it up real quick. It doesn't look like they lost anyone too big, and they did sign a center forward from Borussia Dortmund.
Yep, Füllkrug. They got him. They got Max Kilman, I believe.
Center back from Wolves. Yep. I mean, so those are some
they got
good
Somerville.
names.
They got that guy Somerville. He was in the championship, but he's still good, and they were able to keep all, like you said, keep all their players, barring Paqueta's inevitable punishment. They got the same team, and now they're not dealing with half as many competitions as they were before, or games, I should say, as they were before. No European Conference, no Europa League. I think they have a serious shot at breaking through to that top 6.
Yeah, that's actually really interesting. I really didn't think that, but talking about it, they definitely could have a shot if they could stay healthy and put it together. That's really interesting. My number 6 is going to be Liverpool. And that's because, their team's not getting, I'd say their team's not getting any younger, but most of their team is young. Mo Salah is not getting any younger. Okay, he's getting older. He can't carry that team on his back like he always could. They have a new coach. We have no idea what we're going to see out of him. Absolutely no idea. This is the Premier League. This is a whole different ball game. And not just the Premier League. This is Liverpool. Liverpool is one of the biggest clubs in the world. And when you go from a coach like Jurgen Klopp, like that's a massive set of shoes to fill.
100%.
Like you have to come in and really show that you're here and you deserve to be here. And Liverpool barely made it to where they were last season with all their injuries and everything. And they've had injury problems the last couple of years all over the pitch. And they still did win silverware, but that's because they had Jurgen Klopp. So I think without Jurgen Klopp, they don't manage to make top 4, and I don't think they get 5th place. But I do think they get European football and stay in that Conference League.
I could be with that actually for a little bit. I'll be honest. Out of all the teams, Liverpool was the hardest one for me to put somewhere. Honestly.
Yeah, I actually had them higher, and then as I was doing more and more research and looking into things, I moved them down to 5th, and then I moved them down to 6th. So, I have no idea where to put them. They could finish lower.
They could also win the whole thing.
That's true too. Yeah, exactly.
That's why I was so lost with Liverpool. That was the hardest decision that I had to make for this video.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I love that. All right, so let's move on to number 5 then. You want to hit me to number 5?
Yeah. Number 5, Newcastle.
Hell yeah, brother, Newcastle. Well, I don't have Newcastle, but
I didn't want to put them in the top 4 because I think as of right now, recording this video, there's still some questions to be answered about our right wing. I know we just signed a striker, but we have no idea what we're going to get out of him. Guy's never scored a goal.
That's in depth for you guys.
It's depth, but it's scary depth because Callum Wilson's pretty much glass. And this kid is supposed to be our 3rd rotation kind of striker. He's probably going to see himself playing a lot more. But the reason why I did put them in a solid European spot is because we do not have European football. And we finished 7th last year with injuries and European football. So I only think we could go up from here. We still have Eddie Howe and we get Tonali back. 5th place seems like a very reasonable. I'd be happy with 5th. I would take 5th. I would take 5th. I would even take 6th. But I think European spot is where Newcastle's got to be. I got them at 5th.
Hey man, honestly, that's a good spot. You finished 7th last season or 6th last season, but you didn't get your European spot because of Manchester United, right?
No, you finished 6th. We finished 7th. Man, you finished 8th and jumped us because they won the FA Cup.
Oh, okay. Are you sure, Vinny?
I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's what ended up happening.
Yeah, you're right. You finished 7th. We finished 6th. Correct.
Yeah.
That's because we got conference. Correct. So anyway, my 5th. There we go. Hold on, where we are. My 5th. Again, I was moving around before I made my pick. I had a couple different choices, but I chose Aston Villa.
Okay.
And Aston Villa. Before I say anything, Aston Villa could win the league. They're good enough. I think they can honestly win the league. That team looked so good last season, and they look even better this season. They did lose a couple players, but they got some new players as well. And I mean, they lost Musa Diaby and Douglas Luiz, which are big shoes to fill. But they got Onana and they got Ian Maatson to, stabilize their defense. And I really think that team is just overall good enough to make a run. I mean, yeah, again, Diaby's massive shoes to fill. I don't think they can make a run at top 4 though, and I'll get into that in a second. Sorry. Diaby's massive shoes to fill, and they might try to fill those in January or something, or maybe even before the transfer window here. But regardless of that, I do think they still finish in 5th place. The reason they don't finish any higher though is because they have Champions League football this season, and Champions League football is intense. I mean, you know it.
About it.
You saw it. It's a lot of extra games. It's, every single time you play, it's the biggest game of your life, too. This is the Champions League, especially for Aston Villa, for those fans, those players, the coach, everything. Like, that is such a massive night under the lights. Oh, my God, it's a beautiful thing. And then if you make it through, now you're adding games to the second half of your season, and it's just a lot on a team. It is a lot to deal with. And yeah, they do have depth. They added a couple young players as well. But, whether they go through or not, I don't see them making top 4. The first half of that season is going to be so intense on them.
To your point, this isn't a spoiler at all, but I don't even have them in my top 6.
Wow, really? Wow.
I don't even have them in my top 6 specifically because I think that European football is going to be a strain on them. I mean, look at Newcastle. We got better going into the Champions League season, and we performed worse. So Aston Villa did make a lot of good signings. There's still talks about João Felix going there. That might change my mind. But
that'd be big.
Overall, I'm not saying they won't get a European spot. I could see them winning a domestic cup. I can see them doing something like that and being like a Manchester United, finish 8th, 7th, still get a Conference League spot. But I did not put them in my top 6 solely because of what I just witnessed with my own eyes that Newcastle went through. And I don't think that Aston Villa is that much above what Newcastle was 2 seasons ago going into last season, where I was like, oh, they could make the jump that Newcastle wasn't able to do. I think they're pretty much on par with each other. Newcastle 2 seasons ago, Aston Villa last season. So when I came to that conclusion, I was like, then the only way to go is down.
Yeah, no, I mean, I respect it. I do. This is the Prem, man. This is a hard league, and the Champions League is even harder. So it's going to be a lot for them.
And they just finished top 4. So every time someone boots up and goes out on the field, they're going to be out for blood.
Yeah.
They're not catching anyone by surprise anymore. Last year, they caught a lot of teams by surprise. So once that surprise is gone, again, I watched it with my eyes in Newcastle. Mm-hmm. Once the surprise is gone, teams are going to figure you out. In those games where they won 4-0, 3-0, now it could be 3-3. Now it could be 3-2 with them losing because teams have it figured out.
And the one thing with Unai Emery is, we haven't seen him take that next step. We've seen him, I don't think we've ever seen him get here, but like this is probably the best he's ever done. Now he needs to take another step, and that's a big step. So we will have to see what happens.
For sure.
All right, so let's move on to number 4. You go first.
Number 4, I have Liverpool. I do have them finishing in the top 4, ironically, for not any higher because of the reasons that you said. New coach, but outside of their signings, whatever's going on there, I thought to myself, it's Liverpool. They're going to put on a show and they're going to play with their hearts on their sleeves. The fans are going to be in full support. I just don't see Liverpool dropping off too far from where they were last year. I think they could still stay in the top 4 or be better. I don't personally see them being much worse. And I think that those players under a new coach, you always used to tell me, Chelsea goes through coaches a lot, right? You know that. And every time a new coach comes in,
Just a couple.
It's just a few. Every time a new coach comes in, it's like the players played better than before. So you were alluding to it's a new coach. We have no idea what this guy's going to be like. It's the Premier League. It's not the Eredivisie. But my side of things was Liverpool players are going to ball out for this new coach like they balled out when they got Jurgen Klopp. It's like in their DNA. So I think top 4 is a realistic thing for Liverpool. I have them finishing 4th.
Yeah, I think what you said right there, it's in their DNA, and I do agree with that. They're a gritty team, and if they can figure it out, I do agree with you. They could get top 4. My number 4 is Tottenham Hotspurs, and I have a note in big capital letters, and it's 2 words, 1 name: Dominic Solanke.
Yeah, he's insane.
And I love Dominic Solanke. I wanted him to go to Chelsea. Solanke, whatever his name is. I wanted him to go to Chelsea.
I wanted him at Newcastle. He's the best signing that Tottenham's made in a while.
Dude, he is so good. And I don't think they overpaid for him at all. I really think that's an awesome signing for them. They didn't really lose anyone this season. It's pretty much the same team coming back. I mean, they kind of replaced Harry Kane. It's not Harry Kane, but that's a really good quality number 9 that is pretty close to what Harry Kane was, 10 years ago when he was young. I mean, I know Dominic Solanke's not that young, but regardless, he could really slot in and fill that hole in their team because obviously Richarlison's not the answer, and they need a number 9. And I think Solanke could really make that team different this season, especially if Postecoglou can rally this team together and get them to play like they should. I think 4th or possibly even higher is possible for them, but I have them at number 4.
It's a perfect transition because, ironically, staying on the topic, I have Tottenham at 3.
There you go. Exactly. As I said, possibly higher.
For all the same reasons that you said, they got their guy. I think Solanke's going to be insane. I think that was the piece they were probably missing last year, and they still had a pretty
100%.
decent campaign, given the circumstances. They, from what I understand, Leipzig reloaned out Timo Werner, so he's going to be on their team again on loan for another season. I know he hasn't had the best of luck in the Premier League, but that's someone who has been a Premier League player pretty consistently that they're keeping.
Timo Werner is good he's the best guy in the world at one thing, and that's just like running people off. The dude just is a monster at just running people off, and he creates spaces and makes people open. So, I think he could really complement Dominic Solanke. And
I also put in my notes here, Ange. I think that even though he had a really good first year in the Premier League, he started out hot and the team started out hot. They had their drop off, and they kind of clung to Europe at the end there. But I think that this year, all those first time in the Premier League jitters are out of his system, and he's going to come in with more of a point to prove than he even did last year, which could be scary. And if he could tighten up those little leaks that he had when they were flying so high and dropped off middle of the season, early mid-season, if he could just tighten that stuff up, I think that's going to be a massive improvement. And I think Solanke is the guy that's going to help them score goals. He's going to be someone where if you're down 2-1, instead of losing 3 points, he scores a goal and you now gain a point. Those are points that they might have lost last year that this one signing can potentially get them this year. So I have them pretty comfortably in 3rd.
Cool. I like that. All right. Well, then let's move on to my 3rd. And I bet you're going to be pretty happy about this one. I have Newcastle at 3rd. I have Newcastle at number 3.
From your lips to God's ears, bro.
You did touch on the right wing situation, but we did talk about this the other day, and I think that even without a new right wing signing, which they still could get, even without the new right wing though, that team is really good if they can stay healthy. You added some depth at center back, you got another goalkeeper, you have Tonali coming back, Bruno stayed. Anthony Gordon just played awesome in the Euros when they let him play. He's going to be even better the next year and the next year.
Dude, his first 10 minutes back at Newcastle, he scored a goal.
There you go. Isak, in my opinion's probably like the third best striker in the world, maybe fourth. Yeah. That I don't know. Depending on who you talk to, that might be a hot or a spicy take. But genuinely, I think he's the third best striker in the world.
He could hit 20 bags this year easy.
Yeah, he could. Dude, he could get the golden boot this year. He could score 25, 30 this year if Newcastle stay healthy and they go on a run. And the main reason why is Eddie Howe. Yes, Eddie Howe is still young. Dude, that guy was the coach of Bournemouth only a couple years ago. Brought a team that shouldn't have been in the Premier League, and that team's still in the Premier League today. Like, that dude is a manager, and he is the manager of the future in the Premier League, and I really think he's ready to take that next step. He was ready to take it last year, but you had all those injuries. You had to deal with it. You know, you need more depth still. You do still need more depth. But if 100%. You can stay healthy, if you can get one guy here, one guy there, if you can get that right winger, I mean, you guys are going to be scary. You might get another signing in January. You know, like that striker might work out. Isak could play on the left sometimes. Gordon maybe could play on the right. Maybe Isak could play on the right. You know, like there's options. Harvey Barnes is disgusting, dude. That dude's underrated. He's good. And I mean, again, Eddie Howe, in my opinion, is like one of the most underrated coaches in the world. I think that dude gets way too much shit. Like, he does not deserve it. He is such a good coach. I love Eddie Howe, dude.
I love Eddie Howe. He is the manager, and he is like the perfect fit for St. James Park for Newcastle.
Yeah, dude. He is Newcastle.
Yes, 100%.
He's a Geordie.
He pretty much turned down the England job to stay at Newcastle and not deal with that distraction. Like, that's crazy. That's someone who's committed to the project.
Because he knows that you guys can take that next step.
And I know we got to move on to number 2 here, but real quick, when the new sporting director, or whatever the guy's position was, when he came in and took over and the lady left, they actually kept it so Eddie Howe has final say in the squad. So it goes to show that Newcastle knows Eddie Howe is the guy that's going to lead this ship. We're going to give him the final say on where we spend our money and how he builds a squad without getting any interference from us. I think that's huge. I think that's huge as a manager. I think that's huge as a squad, as a fan base. Hearing that the new guy came in and bowed his head to Eddie Howe, that's massive. So I respect the third place. I would love to see it.
Awesome. Yeah. So again, Newcastle third for me. Number 2, go for it, Vinny.
Well, number 2, Man City. I have Man City finishing behind Arsenal. A couple things. I know, off stream yesterday, me and Matt were having a little bit of an argument about Julian Alvarez. I think that maybe Atletico paid a little too much for him. I'm not going to get into all that, but there was a stat that I heard that kind of changed my mind and blew it. Right.
Apparently that's not confirmed either, by the way. I was looking it up and it's not they're doing it, but it's not official yet. So it could still fall through, but it's supposed to happen.
It could, for argument's sake, let's say everything goes well. I didn't know that he had the most appearances for any Manchester City player last year. Mm-hmm. Period. So you're losing someone who literally played the most out of your entire squad. What is Haaland's? Is he going to become a player who's always injured? Was last year just a fluke with him getting injured? Now, if the Alvarez thing goes through, you don't have that backup. You don't have that stable guy that came in and played every single game. I think that's a massive loss. Price tag aside, I think it's a massive loss. I also have questions about Grealish. Doku is, almost a like-for-like replacement, if not a like-for-like replacement. But Jack Grealish was one of those guys who was like the heart of Man City just a couple years ago. He had his injury problems last year. He was snubbed. I'm pretty sure he wasn't even called up to the Euros. And if we watched the Community Shield game, he didn't play at all because guess what? Not fit. So is that going to be a lingering problem? Is Kevin De Bruyne going to come back in full swing? Was Phil Foden a one-hit wonder? A lot of questions in my mind. And then the number one thing, what's the motivation? Does outside of Manchester City fans, any neutral that's watching, would you believe that Man City is waking up hungry, that they're out for blood? Pep barely wanted to even come back and be a coach the way he was making it sound at the end of last year. So what's the motivation to win? Are they going to have that we need to push for 5 more minutes to win this game? Or is it going to be, I'm cool with a draw? I just don't know if their level of motivation is going to be as high as we've seen in the past couple years. Anything's possible, but I have them finishing second.
So, we're going to go right in mine, obviously. And yeah, I have Man City too. Man City has absolutely no new signings this season. Again, their team's not getting any younger. Kevin De Bruyne,
Savinho, but Savinho was already part of City Group. That barely counts.
No big signings. Like no one's that really going to come in and make a difference is what I'm saying. You know?
Yeah.
They didn't sign a Haaland, a Jack Grealish. They didn't make a big signing this year. Kevin De Bruyne is getting older. He was supposed to leave. He still might leave. Who knows? You know, they're trying. I'm sure they're going to try to get some money out of him before he's too old and they can't get any, especially if someone in Saudi Arabia wants to pay for him. You know, Haaland maybe wants to leave, like you said, so his heart might not be there. Pep's heart might not be there. You know, I'll be honest. I don't totally agree with you when you say, what do you have to wake up for? Or what's the drive? I think you could say that about Real Madrid, but like Real Madrid is Real Madrid. And I think Manchester City's trying to be Real Madrid, but the biggest problem is their fan base. Their fan base is not Real Madrid's fan base. So like, you know, when those players show up to a Manchester City game, it's not like walking into the Santiago Bernabeu. You know, you're walking into the Etihad and it's like, all right, yeah, like we're the best team in England. Woohoo. So I do agree with you at the same time. But yeah, I don't see them finishing first place again. It's got to end at some point, right? Maybe they do finish first place and we're wrong, but it's got to end at some point. If they make a big signing before the end of the season, that's game changing. Who knows? Also, we could see Haaland score 50. We could see Phil Foden win a Ballon d'Or. I think Phil Foden is one of the best players in the world, honestly. I think he could win a Ballon d'Or before the end of his career. Maybe he flops this year, like you said, though. Who knows? Regardless, I think it's time for them to not finish first place. So I have Manchester 2.
Well, one thing real quick before we go into it seems obvious who we both got at number 1, but before
is it obvious? Maybe I'll hit you with something else.
I might have some spice up there, but one thing I want to say is you mentioned what's Real Madrid's motivation. I'm going out on a limb here. Hot take. I could be totally wrong. Real Madrid's motivation is not winning La Liga.
You're not wrong, yeah.
They don't wake up and say, I want to win La Liga. Their motivation, what they build for, is strictly European competition, strictly the Champions League.
I'm sure Manchester City's doing the same thing, though, right? Like,
which is why I'm making the argument that their domestic performance may fall off to say, hey, let's just go out there, finish top 4, win a Champions League. You know what I mean? So where Real Madrid is kind of in the same, I mean, we've seen Real Madrid fire coaches that win La Liga and lose in the Champions League finals. So obviously their motivation isn't winning La Liga. So I think Man City may have that same, maybe they make a deep run in the Champions League, but I think the motivation doesn't surpass the motivation that some other teams have in, domestically speaking in the Premier League.
Agreed. Yeah, I would say their focus is more on the Champions League as well, and they would rather win a Champions League than win a Premier League, for sure. All right, let's move on to number 1, baby. We're getting to the end here. You go first, as always. I'm sure we all know who you're going to say, but go ahead, say it.
Wolverhampton Wanderers. No, I'm just kidding. I got Arsenal, number one. I think this is the time they finally get over that hurdle. I think that they've been active in the transfer window in the right ways. They brought in Calafiori. I'm probably butchering his name, but
Ricardo Calafiori.
Oh, Calafiori. Okay, I wasn't too far off. Yeah, they brought him in. I think he's a massive signing. Other than that, they've pretty much kept everyone towards the end of the year. Kai Havertz was really coming into his own, and going off of the motivation thing. If anyone's motivated in the entire Premier League to win,
yeah,
it's Arteta and Arsenal. They're probably more motivated than ever before. So, not much on them. I just think that with the same squad, with the same coach, and the insane motivation with the added defensive superstar, I think they could be a serious threat. I think it's going to be another season where it's like Man City and Arsenal pretty much like neck and neck the whole entire time, and it'll come down to the end to see who trips up. I think this time around, after tripping up the past 2 years, Arsenal is gonna get through it and not trip.
Yeah, and on that note, let's talk about one more team we haven't noticed. Chelsea winning the league. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, Arsenal are going to win the league.
I would have just logged off. I would have been like, you're lying
Arsenal are going to win the league. Let's be honest. They need to win the league at this point. The players need to win the league. Arteta needs to win the league. Well, like we just said about Man City, their focus is most likely on the Champions League. Arsenal is in the Champions League as well, but their focus is on the Prem. They don't care about the Champions League. Yeah, they obviously do it. We all care about the Champions League. But they need to win the Prem. It's been 20 years for them now. They're hurting. And they need this. So I think Arsenal's going to pull this one out. They didn't lose any of their first team. They signed that center back, Ricardo Calafiori. They don't necessarily need a new starting center back, but man, like he's supposed to be good, and what a great center back option to have. He can also play on the left, so that's another option for them. We've already seen them turn one center back into a fullback with Ben White, and Ben White's one of the best right backs in the league now, so who knows, maybe that'll happen. Yeah, I think Arsenal's going to win the league. I really do.
35 mil on Raya after his loan, so they kept their goalie. I think we're pretty much in agreement that this is Arsenal's to lose at this point, is how I see it.
So, real quick, we're here at the end of the video, but let's talk about the two teams we did not mention. Neither of us mentioned here.
Man U and Chelsea.
And you also said Aston Villa too. That was also interesting. You think Aston Villa is going to finish outside the top six? So we touched on that already a little bit, but let's just do it real quick. Where do you think Aston Villa are going to finish?
I could see them finishing in 7th. I could also see them finishing in 6th, but I just think that tired legs play a factor in it, and fixture congestion, where someone like West Ham could be 6th, 7th West Ham. Villa could be 7th West Ham, 6th Villa. I don't see them far off of Europe. I still see them getting in Europe some way next year, whether it's through a domestic cup or finishing 6th. But I think that 7th is a comfortable spot that I would personally have them finishing. So not far behind, but I just don't see them. I don't see them cracking that top 6.
Okay, cool. So I want to talk about Chelsea last because I'm gonna go on a tangent. So where do you think Man U are gonna finish? Who knows?
I mean, they could finish 10th.
What do you think is gonna happen with Man U this season? Talk to me.
I think they're going to start out bad. They're going to.
Well, they already did start out bad. We just watched it yesterday.
Yeah. They're going to gather themselves and have like an early mid-season push, and then end of the season, they're going to fall out. There's going to be stupid headlines of who said what, Eric Ten Hag doing this, blah, blah, blah. That's not going to go away. And I'm not a professional athlete or a celebrity, but that probably starts to get old, and it probably really starts to affect how passionate you become towards something, or how aggressive you become. I think there's going to be a lot of distractions, especially coming off their worst ever season as a club. You know, they start slipping too far, Man United fans are going to lose their minds. So I just think it's going to be a disaster all the way around for Man U.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to go well, especially after what we saw yesterday. I do not have faith in them finishing in any European spot. I mean, I think they're kind of in the same boat as Chelsea still, where they could finish anywhere from 6th to 16th. Maybe that's a little harsh, but 6th to 10th, you know. They didn't add anyone substantial. They added young kids who maybe they're going to be good, but I don't think they're going to be game-changing. I don't think Eric Ten Hag's going to figure it out. You know, I don't think Rashford is going to be able to carry that team. I mean, sure, Bruno Fernandes is good, but I don't think he's going to be able to carry that team. And, you know, Rashford needs to be playing lights out for them to be playing good. I think that's literally what it comes down to. Rashford needs to play lights out. They might lose who?
I'm pretty sure the reports came in this weekend that Wan-Bissaka has agreed to terms with West Ham, ironically.
Wow, I didn't hear that.
Yeah.
That could be even like that could be huge for West Ham, like you said. But yeah, that would just obviously hurt Man U even more. So I don't have much faith in them, and I think we'll see them anywhere in that mid-table. So moving on to obviously my favorite club, Chelsea. I've watched Chelsea for 10 years now, and I don't want to talk about this too long, but like I said, I'm going to go on a tangent. I've watched Chelsea for 10 years now, and I was spoiled for the first couple of years. And I was told that this is what Chelsea is. Like, this is who we are. And for the last 3 seasons, we are just not Chelsea. And, you know, this preseason was supposed to give us hope. We got a new coach, which I didn't want. I liked, oh my God, why can't Pochettino. I actually loved Pochettino. I liked him when he was at Tottenham. I don't like Tottenham. I hate Tottenham, but I liked him when he was at Tottenham. I was happy he was going to come be our coach. I think he was figuring it out towards the end of the season. He was figuring it out towards the end of the season. We made European football. We went on an undefeated run. You know, like he was getting the most out of the players we had and teaching them how to play together. And then we get a new guy in, and now it's just like start fresh. And sure, like they were playing together, so maybe it'll be easier. But everything we've seen over the preseason has just been in shambles. Yeah, we're not playing our first team. I get it. Things are going to change. But we are going to play Manchester City on Sunday. I don't want to watch Chelsea play Manchester City on Sunday. I don't want to watch it.
It could be a rough one.
I'm pretty sure it's at Stamford Bridge. And man, like it's my dream to go to Stamford Bridge. I would do anything to go to a game at Stamford Bridge. I don't think I'd want to be at that game on Sunday at Stamford Bridge. We might get slaughtered, especially if we play like we've played over the summer. If we do get slaughtered, what does that do for confidence? First game of the season. If we get slaughtered, dude, it could just spiral out of control. Does Enzo Maresca even make it to the end of the season? I have no idea. You know, like, who's even going to play? I have no idea. You know, we have 6 wingers. We have 5 midfielders. We have 7 goalkeepers. Like, who's going to play? We don't know. We got a new goalkeeper. He's not going to play. Apparently, Robert Sanchez is going to play. He sucks. He didn't play last season, but now he's going to play this season when we got a new goalkeeper. So, like, none of it makes sense to me. I mean, obviously, like, everyone knows it's the owners and they're buying players and they're trying to make profit. Blah, blah, blah. They don't care about winning. They only care about money. We've heard it all. But I don't care, dude. It's Chelsea, and we are supposed to win. This isn't who we are. And there is no chance we finish in a European spot playing the way we're playing. I mean, we're lucky that we did last season. And again, to start fresh again is insane to me.
Well, let me ask you something real quick. Do you think that being in, you guys are in the Conference League, right?
Yes.
Do you think that that's going to help you? Because, how I've kind of been thinking about it is those kind of games, especially being in the conference, your first couple games are going to be against lesser quality opponents. Not much lesser, but I shouldn't say lesser. I should say not Chelsea, not to the stature of Chelsea. Chelsea's a historic, huge, massive club. Don't you think that maybe picking up a nice couple wins in your group stage, maybe going around in the knockout round, could boost the confidence and that have that carry over to the domestic league, which we've seen happen before? Or do you think that that's just going to make fixture congestion, and since you have a bunch of young people who don't really know what's going on and a new coach, and do you think that maybe it could harm you?
I think Chelsea win the Conference League, and it doesn't help them at all.
Well, then you go into Europa next year.
That's awesome. That's great. So maybe we do make it into European football next season, but I'm just saying.
Would you say that's your only chance? Would you say that winning the Conference League
as of right now, looking at the season starting on Friday for Man U and us on Sunday, no, that's there's no chance we make it other than the Conference League. It's our only chance at European football next season. I think we are horrible in every domestic cup, horrible in domestic football, and we win the Conference League because we should win it, realistically. I think Chelsea finish 8th, 9th, or 10th place. Genuinely. Where do you think Chelsea finish? That. Yeah, same thing.
Pretty much somewhere in there. I mean, we might have a 7th through 10th that consists of Villa, Chelsea, and Man United in some order.
Frank Lampard will be my coach in April. Okay? Yeah. That's the season I'm going to have. And it is what it is, unfortunately. I just hope that we can figure it out. I hope I'm wrong. Let's be honest. Man, I hope I'm wrong. For the last 2 years, you've been telling me, everyone else has been telling me, don't worry, you guys are going to figure it out. You're Chelsea. We're not Chelsea. That's our name. That's my club's name, but my club is not the Chelsea that I love. It's not the Chelsea that I know. And if we do not ever go back to that, then I don't think we ever win a Premier League ever again. We need to go back to being the Chelsea that I knew, that I loved, that did everything it could to win silverware. That's what it was about. It was about winning silverware. It wasn't about winning the Premier League every year. It was about winning silverware. And maybe that could start with winning the Conference League and we move on to something else next year. We could have done it last season with Pochettino. I don't want to keep going back to Pochettino, but I am. I'm sorry. Told you I was going to go on a tangent. I'm upset. This is the first time I've been able to talk about this. Sorry, I'm talking too fast. This is the first time I've been able to talk about Chelsea, and I'm pissed. So I hope I can eat my words, and we'll obviously see on Sunday.
I think it could be an interesting year. Definitely just want one last thing. When I started watching the Premier League, I've always been a pretty casual soccer fan. I've watched leagues and teams ever since we were kids. Champions League, whatever. I just never had a team that I followed until Newcastle. But one thing you always brought up to me is the Big Six, right? The Big Six. The Big Six. I appreciate that both of us had different faces in different spots, moved around. Some of the bigger guys like the Man U and the Chelsea, we both excluded. Teams from last year like Aston Villa, I excluded. I added in a West Ham. You put Newcastle up in third. I think the Premier League, like I said, I just want to end it here. I think the Premier League is even though the teams we're used to, like the Chelseas and the Man U's, are having a fall off, I think in a way, it's almost good for the Premier League that you're getting a mix of new teams competing for those spots. So I'm excited for this season. I hope that I'm totally wrong about my top six outside of Newcastle. we have a wild season. Some dark horses make some kind of runs. Maybe Chelsea win the whole thing. Who knows? But I think that these new teams, other predictions that I was watching also had some crazy out of left field picks in the top 6. So I think the Premier League's in a good spot, and I think this year is going to be an insane season.
I agree with everything you just said. I am so excited. I just said in the other video the other day, I cannot wait for this weekend. You and I need to get together and split up our games so we can watch each game, so we, see what's going on, and make sure everyone checks out our video next weekend or early next week. We're going to sit down and, just break down a couple games, especially the Chelsea and Newcastle game. We might even stream the Chelsea game on Sunday, so keep your eye out.
Leave down in your comments who you think might be relegated, or who you think
tell
your
us,
top
please.
6 are.
Who do you think's getting relegated? Who do you think's winning the league? Who do you think's finishing 10th place? I don't care. Give us your 1 through 20. Whatever you want to do. Well, we want to hear what you have to say.
Or go down there and flame us. Flame us. Tell us we're wrong.
Yeah, tell us we have no idea what we're talking about. But when you do, make sure you tell us what you think, because we want to we want to be educated by you guys as well. So, seriously. But thank you guys for watching, as always. Again, like, comment, and subscribe. Help the algorithm. Share it to your friends. Tell your buddies. There's these 2 stupid Americans that started making videos, and they kind of sound okay. Or maybe they sound horrible and you want to laugh at us. I don't care. Just, tell a friend. But seriously, again, thank you guys for watching. We will see you in the next one.
Thank you for the support.